Hello, in today's session with the Bach double, I'm looking at the structure and mostly only at the ritornello parts. I mean, the parts that are played by the orchestra, the thematic material that is played by the orchestra, and not the solo entries, which have their own structure. So I'm not that far along in having it completely analyzed. But the main orchestra entrance up to the rehearsal letter A, and that's measure 21, first 21 measures. They have this ritornello theme, which is the one that is most easily recognized. And it's first introduced by the second violins in D, starting on the D string. That's the same notes, just a fifth lower than the second entry. And so this is actually very similar to a fugue. The way this theme is stated, I mean, we have it first in D, in the key, D minor, in the key of the piece, and then we have it in the dominant, starting on A, and while the first violin is playing the answer of the fugue theme, the second violin has a counter subject, and that is the one with the long half notes. So I don't know if I can read the second violin here in my full score. So that's what the second violin plays as counter subject, while the first violin has the second statement of the theme. And then it's interesting, there's one further measure with just I don't know, filling material to modulate, and then the theme is started again, but this time in the bass section, so not in the solo sections, and it's again in D and exactly the same notes as before. And while the bass section plays this theme again, the two first and second violin, they have some this counter subject with the long half notes, and then they interchange. So one of them has the long note and the other has 16th notes. Okay, and then the subject appears again, but now in the second violins, and on A again, but it's not the same notes exactly in the same intervals, but it is slightly changed. And then finally, for the last time, the first violin has the main subject, and this time it's an octave higher, but it's in D again. Okay, so we have the main subject 5 times, violin 2 in D, violin 1 in A, then this one additional measure, then the bass section in D, then violin 2 in A, slightly modified, and then violin 1 in D again, but an octave higher. So that's the structure of the first part. And it's also interesting with the counter subject. So of course in the beginning the subject is stated by itself without any counter material. Then when violin 1 has the subject, then violin 2 or the violins 2, they have this counter subject with the long half notes. Then when the bass section comes in with the main subject, violin 1 and 2, they both have this counter subject, and they switch it around, so everybody has the half notes at a different stage. And then when the when the second violin comes in with the subject again, then only the bass section continues with the counter subject with the long half notes, and the first violin has something new. It has sorry, I botched that, but it's interesting. It's not the counter subject, but something else, and it has these syncopations. They are very important, I think. So let me see here. That's the first violin again with the subject. So that's an interesting section where the first violin with this syncopation, they bring some kind of putting something in the wheel. I think, I don't know how do you say that. Yeah, so shaking things up basically. Okay, and then at the end, when the first violin has the final subject an octave higher in D, then again the second violins and the bass section, they play the counter subjects with the long half notes again. Okay, so that's what I figured out about the structure of the first part, and then it's interesting also that the main subject appears in only very briefly, only just 4 measures in 2 different spots. I think one it's the violin 1 in measure 56. Or maybe it's the bass section again in measure 55, and okay, then it appears right at the end again in violin 1, the last 4 measures. Okay, good. So I thought that was interesting, because now that I have the notes down, basically I want to understand the interplay between the different voices better and the structure. So that's what I looked up for today. Yeah, I think I'll not even play because there will be the virtual recital showcase later tonight, and yeah, that will be when I play the complete piece. Okay, thank you for listening, and bye for now.